Hey everyone, welcome to Brave New Worldviews. We'll be looking at the technological advancements of today, informed by the lessons of yesterday, in order to preserve a better tomorrow. My name is Isaiah Austin, and I appreciate you joining me this week. Now, before we get going, I wanted to clear up a little bit of what I was talking about last week, which was AI, artificial intelligence, turning into potentially AGI, artificial general intelligence, and I called AGI a human being. Now, just to clarify, it's not actually a human being, but it has the ability to understand and achieve any task that a human being can. So, doesn't have the soul, doesn't have the consciousness, but it can perform any task or understand any concept that a human being is capable of. Now, the whole consciousness discussion, I don't think we necessarily need to get into it because that goes down to worldview in and of itself. I don't think the AI will ever be capable of understanding that it exists in the sense that we can. It's not a living being, so it is not a human being, but it can pass as a human being, and it might persuade people to think it's a human being, but it will never be a human being. All right, so wanted to get to the topic for today. 4.8 million U.S. jobs are expected to be lost as a result of ChatGPT. On top of that, Goldman Sachs reported that 18% of jobs worldwide will be lost as a result of artificial intelligence as a whole. Now, those numbers are alarming, but let's pull it back real quick, okay? This is reminiscent of the boom of the internet in the 1990s. The newspaper industry was once valued at almost $50 billion, but then suddenly it wasn't. At that moment, you saw a split in the market between the newspaper companies that were willing to adjust to the changes technologically that were happening and get involved on the web, and the ones who were sticking to their guns and hoping that it was just a fad that would pass over. And we know exactly how that turned out. I think a great example of this is the Wall Street Journal. They adjusted to using the internet to publish their newspaper in 1995. When only 0.4% of the population was on the internet at the time. As a result, today, they've survived through it all, and they're valued at $2.25 billion, a newspaper company. Now, comparatively to the 0.4% of the population that was on the internet when companies started switching from newspaper to web publishing, 1.2% of the world population is currently on ChatGPT. And that number continues to grow at a rapid rate. No one knows the full extent of where this technology could take us in the future, but one thing is for certain. It's not going away. I think based off of the use cases for this technology that we're already seeing, there's absolutely no way that it will dwindle away. So, I want to talk briefly about the technological bell curve as it results to where we are with artificial intelligence. Now, if you're familiar with it, and I don't have a video version of this podcast yet, just recording it for reels, something that we'll definitely adjust to in the future. But the technological bell curve, okay, it starts out with innovators, moves to early adopters, and then you start getting to the majority of people. It's like standard deviation for products, right? Pretty much all technologies follow this in some capacity. You know, the internet, there was an early adopter phase, and then the early majority came in, and people started gaining traction on it. And then as soon as the general population came in, it was too late for a lot of businesses, like particularly in the newspaper and the publishing companies, that didn't have time to adjust when other companies were already ahead of it. With artificial intelligence, I would say that we're not even in the innovator stage anymore. We've moved to the early adopter phase and are about to enter the early majority. That number, over 1% of the population being involved in this, shows us that there is an awareness worldwide for this technology. Now, let me make this clear. This is the fastest growing product in human history, right? This reached 100 million users faster than the internet, faster than Facebook, faster than Instagram, faster than TikTok even, and it's not even close, okay? This technology is growing at such a rapid rate, although it still is being innovated, it's not technically in the innovator stage because of how many individuals are a part of it. Does that make sense? So there's so much awareness, there's so many people trying to adapt to it, that the time to adjust if you're in one of these industries that could potentially be affected by this technology is growing slimmer and slimmer. So once we reach the early majority phase, AI will be used in the mass market, and it could be too late, as we discussed. This does not necessarily mean that you will have to choose a different career path. It absolutely doesn't mean that. And let me explain why. You have to understand how your career will fit into the new world, not how you will build a new career on top of the new world. Does that make sense? Here's 2 examples. Copywriters. Copywriter is almost like a buzzword over the past couple of months because people are so insistent that that will be a job that will be lost with AI growing. And it will probably be one of the most changing career fields, but I wouldn't go as far to say as copywriters will be lost. Copywriting is a very, very difficult skill to learn. And for a machine to emulate it, you're taking into account all kinds of variables. Now, I believe that at some point, a machine will get smart enough to write copy that's sound and great for sales and can provide customer service, and it's the whole shebang. But here's where things get difficult. There has to be an input at this very point. At least for the foreseeable future, there has to be an input. So in order to be a great copywriter and produce fast-paced copywriting in an economy where people are paying copywriters to produce content in 5 minutes because they're using ChatGPT, you need to be an expert prompter for that period. Going on to ChatGPT 3 and 4 and learning what prompts produce what results will help set you apart once the early majority enters into this technology. Another example is graphic designer. I know, again, there's been a lot of controversy going around AI's ability to adapt to art and create pieces that are magnificent in under a minute. As a graphic designer, your job is to make it exactly like the client wants it and blow somebody's socks off. Just because it's a highly produced product with AI doesn't mean that it's specialized to that specific client, that specific job, that specific career path, etc., etc. So, graphic designers, you can get a leg up by starting to use AI as concepts and creating concept boards based on AI prompts. If I'm going for a specific vibe, if I want something that's blue and maybe like a corporate logo to create and a whole brand strategy for a company, as a graphic designer, what I can do is input that information into something like Midjourney, a picture creator, and then it pumps out the results and informs the designs that I'm going to make that are bespoke and specialized for that client. Speeds up the process. The whole conception phase can be spent having a conversation with AI and figuring out what the product should be. I want to reiterate this point. The wagon driver became a taxi driver. The taxi driver became an Uber driver. Still driving. Nothing has changed. He's still in his career field. He's still communicating with the clients. He's still helping people get from one destination to the next. His purpose and calling is still there. The medium is different. Here's another example. The newspaper writer becomes an online journalist. The journalist becomes a Twitter user. He's still writing. He's still providing value, and he's probably still sharing similar information. The medium is different. These people, quote unquote, lost their jobs, but in the end, reached more people through their work and continued to make an impact with their calling. Here's something else to consider, and this kind of is playing devil's advocate to everything that I've said in this podcast at this point. If everything becomes integrated with artificial intelligence, there will be AI burnout. For the same reason that malls still exist, even though online shopping has been around for years, is directly what I'm saying. People will be so tired of talking to people's artificial intelligence that they will want human interaction. That's how we're built as human beings. We need to interact with other human beings to, in turn, be human beings. Customer service jobs in particular, and I've held customer service until this point because I think that it's very unique in the new economy. Customer service jobs will still exist. It's hard to tell in what capacity, and it's hard to tell in what industry, but they will still exist. The burnout will occur if you try calling a pizza place right now. They have it's not artificial intelligence, but it's a Siri-like product where they're like, if you want to get 20% off your next order now with our robot. And then you call in and you're talking to the robot. Hi, what pizza can I get you? It's like, I'll have one large cheese pizza. And they're like, drumsticks? It's chaos. People will get tired of having that kind of interaction. They want to talk to a human being, they want to get their order done, and they want to move on. Now, technological advancements past where we're headed over the next 5 years could change what I'm talking about altogether. I'm talking about for the foreseeable future. People will want, especially people in older generations, will want somebody checking them out at a grocery store potentially, will want to have that interaction. People that don't see people very often on a daily basis go to the grocery store and have that one interaction with the cashier. That might be the only person they talk to that day. This is why it's so important, and these jobs will not totally go away. You just need to be ready to adapt and research and understand what the best medium is for you to be successful in your career. Once again, I hope all of this stuff was helpful to you. If you have any questions or want to reach out or have any suggestions, or want to give me a follow, all of my socials are in the description of this podcast. And I look forward to talking to you next week.